Welcome to the Hollywood Persona Podcast. Here are your hosts, Mitch and Ant.
Hey, Ant.
Mitch.
How's it going?
Great, man. I'm so glad that we're sitting down to record. I have so much movie stuff I got to get off my chest.
Feels like we haven't talked in a while.
I know, and I'm like, I went for a walk today. I'm just like, I mentioned this. I gotta mention this. I gotta say this. Like, I'm bursting.
I know, me too. We've got a lot to talk about. Welcome to the Hollywood Persona. If you're watching with us live, we stream on YouTube, Twitch, and we also stream through Riverside, which is where we record. It's great. We love Riverside. It's so easy to record and post your podcast. So you can watch it at any of those places. All those links are on our link tree, which I post with every episode and all over. It's on our Instagram, and it's got everything you need. So just to say that again.
Have I not posted the link tree when I edit the episode?
You might not have. I don't know.
Yeah, I need to start adding that in, and this one is one I'll edit as well.
Oh, I
try and switch off to share the editing duties. What'd you say?
You edited the last one, so this one's mine. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyways, today we're going to talk about a few movies that we really want to talk about. Wild Robot, the new animated movie that's taken over the box office. The Substance, which is a new horror movie that everyone is talking about with Demi Moore and Margaret Qualley. I'm going to talk about Will and Harper, the new documentary, and Ant's going to talk about Megalopolis, and he's going to briefly talk about Joker 2, which he got to see early. The day we're recording, it basically came out today.
Yep.
So I haven't seen it yet, but I will this weekend. He's also going to briefly talk about We Live in Time, and then he might bring up Lee and Azreal. Azreal?
Yeah, Azreal.
So, yeah.
So we got a lot, yeah.
Yeah. So before we get into that, I'm doing my 31 movies of October. I was assigned 3 movies. I'll just quickly tell you what I'm watching this month for the month of October. Probably would have been good.
The Halloween month.
Yeah. I usually try to do 31. Last year I didn't quite make it, but time restraints.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's the only reason I won't commit to it, because I just don't know if I could do it.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I see a lot, right? But one every day is tough.
Yeah. You're going to see a lot of these in theaters, because I've put some new ones on here.
Good.
American Psycho, which I hadn't seen, I watched last night. It was
you
pretty
hadn't
good.
Seen it?
No, never seen it. And I liked it. I think it felt a little like all over the place. I couldn't really mix with its vibe as I think some people else did. It was a little chaotic, I found, and I think that's maybe what it was supposed to be.
Yeah.
But I didn't jive with it quite as. I gave it 4 stars still, because I think it was really good and some really creepy stuff and really interesting. And Bale is obviously playing some. He's never seen him play that kind of character. So
no, and
especially for it being one of his first roles.
Right. And to give your thoughts some credit, I saw it when I was, I don't know, 21, 24 or something like that. So maybe it appealed to me. Like if I saw it fresh today, maybe it wouldn't be. But I'm sure, and you'd already know, I'm sure you knew all about it, all the memes.
Yeah. Yes. Jared Leto and the memes and the Huey Lewis and everything. I'm like, okay, I get it.
Paul Allen. Yeah.
And it came out, Paul Allen. And it came out 24 years ago.
Wow.
And I think a lot of has happened since then in movie worlds,
Yeah.
And I've seen a lot of this since then, but I think this opened the doors and really scared a lot of people and shocked a lot of people, seeing like a true psychopath in the same vein as Hannibal Lecter or something that, right?
Yeah, definitely. And I can give you a nice segue. I'll lob it up for you right here.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever you do not watch the sequel to American Psycho 2, with my beloved Mila Kunis. I actually own the DVD only so that I could hear her commentary on the commentary track.
Does she bash it?
It is so bad.
Does she try to make it seem good, or does she talk shit?
Yeah, she tries her best, and
That's gotta be hard.
I'm not fooled to say that she's like an amazing actress. I just think she's gorgeous.
Yeah.
But
I think
her
she's good at
her,
something.
her yeah, she has been good. But like
Yeah.
Jupiter Ascending, she's no good in, and but Bad Moms, she plays a fun character.
Oh yeah, I think she's best when she can just be herself, like a lot of
Yeah,
actors.
yeah.
And that's the
But
thing about it. Sorry.
no, you go ahead.
No, that's the thing about American Psycho is God, I got a lot of Jim Carrey vibes from Christian Bale. I don't know if he was meaning to do that, but there's sometimes where there's side angles, and I'm like, if you told me that was Jim Carrey, I'd almost
Yeah,
believe
his
it.
chin. Yeah,
And the way
yeah.
he's talking, it's just I'm like, yeah.
But yeah, don't bother. It's so bad. I mean, it's such a flawed idea. Try to think of 4'9" Mila Kunis as a serial killer. Come on. But
Right.
speaking of terrible sequels to movies, you
Yeah.
also watched something that's a lot of people think is bad.
Yeah, I was assigned Book of Shadows, Blair Witch 2 by our lovely friend Florence Bremer. I almost said Pugh. Florence Pugh. Florence Bremer. Obviously, this is a remake to The Blair Witch. Came out like the year after Blair Witch. Obviously, they jumped on that really fast.
Wait, so it's a remake, you said, huh?
Did I say remake? I'm so sorry. It's a sequel. I apologize.
Okay.
I really liked the idea because it starts off where in this universe the movie is real, like it was just a movie, or we don't know if it was just a movie, but these kids are doing tours of where these people died,
right,
or whatever. Like it's still kind of up in the air if it was real or not,
mm-hmm,
or if it was like tapes and stuff. So these people who are big Blair Witch Project people, they go out into the woods, and there's some really interesting stuff at the beginning, and unfortunately there's this one guy, and he has a fucking like fortress out in the middle of the woods, and it's like a warehouse, and it has everything in it. It's like he, like when you're stealing stuff and then you're reselling it, you're like, you're like, you've got like all these hot items and stuff. It's a warehouse full of like TVs and all this, but he's got it completely decked out with like a bridge even, and cameras and security systems. And
in the middle of the woods.
In the middle of the woods, and it's just a lot of it just doesn't make sense, and there's a lot of downtime, and there's a twist at the end that like there's some twists and stuff that don't work. And the other thing that doesn't work, we keep going back to, how like sometimes movies will start with like the detective questioning the person, and then it goes to the story, and then it goes back to the person being questioned, and it's like, well, then what happened then? It just randomly does that. And so like, a couple people live, and there was no need for them to go back. This one just really didn't work for me. There was a couple scares and a couple interesting stuff near the end, so I did give it a 1.5.
Okay.
Maybe I gave it a 1.5 because I love Florence so much, but Florence, I would love to hear your thoughts and why this worked for you, or maybe it didn't.
Tell us what you liked about it.
Yeah. But I am glad I saw it because I probably would have jumped on it at some point, just because it's so like everyone talks about it.
Yeah, it's iconic. Yeah.
Yeah.
And tell me if this is true. I've heard about it. In the whole movie, there is no Book of Shadows.
No. She like, there's one girl, and this is also confusing. There's one girl who's a witch, but then there's one girl who's kind of gothic and stuff, and she kind of acts like a witch too, and it's like a wannabe witch, but they have papers and stuff. I don't know, but then they all get torn up. And, yeah, it doesn't make sense.
All right. So that's the sequel to the Blair Witch, the Book of Shadows.
Yeah. So I posted what I'm going to be watching, but I'm going to just quickly. I'm going to watch American Werewolf in Paris, Bug, Coraline, Creature from the Black Lagoon, Dead Zone, Deep Red, Don't Look Now, The Endless, The Frighteners. And then this is what I want to say. Some of these are new. So Hold Your Breath is a new one with Sarah Paulson. It's on Disney Plus and Hulu now. Another one is The House of Spoils with a West Side Story girl, Ariana DeBose.
Okay.
And it's on Prime now. So that's a horror one that I'm going to be watching. Another one is called...
she's a cook, right?
Yeah, she's a cook. Yeah. She's starting her own business, but I haven't watched that one yet. Another horror that I'm going to watch that just came out is It's What's Inside. It's called It's What's
I
Inside.
just added this to Plex. I heard it's great, like Knives Out kind of
Oh,
thing.
yeah? It's
Yes.
on Netflix now, so everybody can watch that. And then the other one is the remake of Salem's Lot, which is
Okay.
on Max or Crave, HBO Max. So that's the remake. I haven't seen the original, so I'm going to be watching that as well. Two other ones. It says in Canada that you can get Strange Darling on Hoopla, but in the States, it's still pretty much just in theaters. And Apartment 7A is the
Rosemary's
prequel
Baby.
to Rosemary's Baby, and it's on Paramount Plus now. So there's a bunch of movies. I will try to post that in our story or something. You can watch all of those. So yeah.
Cool.
And then two more movies that I was assigned was Memories of Murder. I don't know if you've ever seen that. It's
I haven't. I know of it though.
yeah. And then The Descent 2, I was assigned by your mom, which full transparency, I have seen, but not since it came out. And the Descent series, like the Descent is like one of my favorite movies. So I'm really excited to rewatch that.
Cool. Yeah, Memories of Murder is the Bong Joon-ho movie.
Yes, right. His like first movie, I think. And
Yeah,
apparently it's
I've wanted to get to it.
Yeah. And just one other thing before I'll pass it over to you. Maggie Smith passed away, who we know as Professor McGonagall from Harry Potter or from Downton Abbey and lots of other stuff. Chris Christopherson passed away. If you're a movie lover, you might know him from Blade. He was the older guy in the original 3 Blade movies.
Oh, what was his name? Spinster? Whistler?
Yeah, I can't remember.
I'll look it up.
And then John Amos, who you might know, a lot of older people might know him from Good Times, James Evans Sr., but he was in Die Hard 2, both coming to Americas, and I just saw him in a new movie I watched last week. Not a new movie, but Two Evil Eyes that I watched, which is a Dario Argento movie, and Robert Rodriguez, so which was good. It was good. But yeah, so I will... I guess now we can pass that over to you. It looks like we got some messages in the chat, so I'll look at those.
Oh, one of them was me.
Okay.
I just noticed if I comment in YouTube, it comes through to Riverside. That's nice.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
Twitch should do the same thing.
So just box office. Okay, so we're recording Friday the 4th of October when Joker 2 comes out. So this box office I'm talking about is last week's. And all I just want to mention was Francis Ford Coppola's Megalopolis came in at number 4 with only about 4 or 5 million, which isn't great. But, I don't really think he made this as a money-making thing. So no. I don't know how big a deal it is or not, and he self-funded it, so who knows? But yeah, not so good. Wild Robot came at number 1. There was a question about would Beetlejuice continue at number 1 or would the Wild Robot overtake it? And it did. So yeah, that's all I think that's interesting at the box office dollar-wise.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be really... Go ahead.
Do you know how much Megalopolis cost?
It was supposedly 120 million.
Yeah, it's a little over that, it says here.
Like and he sold one of his vineyards to make it.
Yeah.
To get it made. He'd been shopping it around forever. I'll talk about it in a minute when I review it. So yeah, that's it. What I was going to say is it'll be interesting to see, all eyes are on Joker 2. Right, the first one made over $1 billion worldwide. This one, I thought I saw a prediction or target somewhere as 50 million. And they did that. They've been doing lots of marketing to try and get people to go see it. And we'll see, man. So next week when we talk numbers, it'll be really interesting to see what this does.
I read a little article. I actually did read the article, and they were talking about how over the last 2 weeks, once the reviews started to come out that it wasn't good, a lot of people were noticing that the advertising for it had started to really slow down. Like you weren't seeing TV spots. I think they've really lost faith in it, and I bet you they're worried. And either do you spend the advertising money and hope people see it, or do you slow down on it and save that money because you don't think movie's gonna
bank,
right?
Is it the sunken cost, or do you need to still make it grow? Yeah, I know. That's glad I'm not the one to make that decision. So so that's box office.
So yeah, it says 120 to 136 million for Megalopolis. And so why don't you tell us a little bit about that
Yeah, I guess
joyful
I can
movie
mention it while we're here. So I saw Megalopolis last weekend. I was trying to catch one of the screenings where someone comes out into the theater during one scene and holds up a microphone to the screen while a character pretends like they're in a press conference. So it's in IMAX, but the IMAX screen shrinks down into a tiny little box, and it looks like the character is talking to a person in the room. It's an interesting idea, but obviously I guess they could, but it would be expensive to hire an actor to do that at every theater at every showtime. But they didn't. They did it for a few cities, New York, Chicago, Atlanta, Boston,
Right.
and just one showtime a day. So, but I couldn't make it to that one that was doing it at because we were being affected by Hurricane Helene.
Oh,
It was
really?
that theater closed. They actually shut down the Atlanta theaters that night, Thursday night.
Any damage in your area?
Thankfully, no, just down trees, but we didn't lose
Yeah.
power or anything like that. So we were safe. But other areas of the state of Georgia are still recovering. I had some people come into my theater Wednesday who are from a city that's further south, and they're up here waiting for their power to get restored. So
all I can think about is how this is going to affect your voting down there.
Yeah,
in some
maybe.
places, but I don't know. Anyways.
So here's the deal with Megalopolis. It is a bad movie. It's really, really bad. And it's bad for many reasons. First of all, the plot is really complicated and frustrating that there are so many elements that either never get followed up on or are only mentioned once and don't have an impact in the plot. I'll give you an example that's in the opening scene. Adam Driver can control time. He can stop time. And at first I thought, oh, well, maybe it's a metaphor. This is him being controlling, or maybe it means something. But no, other characters can see it. So it's not just in his head. All that it does for the plot is later on in the movie, he says, I can no longer stop time. Another example, there's a satellite that is going to crash and impact the city. And it does, but it doesn't cause any problems. It hits one little building, causes a small fire. And again, how would a satellite, like, it behaves as if it's a meteor, like a giant rock, but it's just we see it, it's just a tiny satellite that one would get burned up on entry anyway, but even two, if it hit the ground, it's like throwing a basketball at somebody. Like, it's those things are fragile in light. Yeah.
I have a question. Since you're very knowledgeable about space and stuff, don't satellites eventually, do they die and then they become space garbage, or do they sometimes get down into our Earth? Don't they come back? Some of them do?
Yeah, good. That's a great question. So most satellites, and this is an agreement across the European Space Agency, NASA, JAXA, a lot of us, they agree to deorbit satellites after they're used into a place called Point Nemo, which is on the other side of the Earth, where it's in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, where there's like 1,000 miles around it of no inhabited areas. Right. So that's usually the plan. The old ones from the 50s and 60s, they didn't necessarily think about space junk back then. So some of those just stay, but atmospheric drag will eventually pull them all down. It's just how much time that will take.
Even the ones above the Pacific that are there, those ones will eventually get pulled down?
Yeah, so what I mean is they leave enough thrust in them so that they can deorbit and land in the Pacific. So if you go to the bottom of the Yeah, if you go to the bottom of the Pacific, there's a graveyard of all old satellites and parts.
Wow, that'd be cool to explore. Do they go out and so they don't try to retrieve anything?
No. There's a couple missions that have done retrievals of comet materials. Right. Like, I forgot the name of the mission, but it went to a comet, collected a sample, and then they brought it back, which was really cool. But no, most of the time it's just trash, destroyed. They get mostly burnt up. But you also have Russia and China have both done this, and they've been decried, or it's been blasted. When they do this to test their anti-satellite missiles, they just blow up their old ones, which just creates a field of debris up there. And the ISS, the space station, recently, the astronauts had to go into their safety pod because there was a debris cloud coming, and they orbit the Earth every 45 minutes. So they're at risk. So it sucks.
We saw this in a movie.
Gravity?
It might have been Gravity, but I swear because I know they were coming back around
Yes.
in a movie, and they were like, oh, there's debris. Yeah. So, anyways, that was probably more interesting, that conversation, than Megalopolis. But is there anything
Oh,
else
and
you wanted
then
to say?
another.
Sorry to.
No, I'd love to talk that stuff, man.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that is just bizarre for you guys, if you ever see Megalopolis, is the character. You know, we talk about, maybe it was Anderson from the Film Vault podcast said, directing is just tone management. The actors here, Shia LaBeouf, Natalie Emmanuel, Adam Driver, they all, and you hear this a lot, but this one really lives it, feel like they're in a different movie. They are so different characters that they really feel like and then that they were just allowed to do whatever they want. And the director, Coppola, didn't say, hey, no, say it like this, act like this. Yeah, the dialogue is goofy. Some of the CGI looks pretty crappy, surprising for the amount of money. So, and on and on and on. You know, I don't need to say much more. It's just not good, and it's almost like you kind of got to see it to believe how baffling it is.
Well,
But
everyone keeps posting that scene with Natalie Emmanuel,
club.
and yeah, why don't you go down to the club? And he does this weird thing, and it just seems like out of a student film. And it's Adam Driver. Isn't he an Oscar winner? Like,
It's corny and
yeah,
cringy.
yeah.
And Aubrey Plaza's name in the movie is Wow Platinum. I mean, and then you're supposed to take some of this stuff seriously. There's a story, there's a plot line about a virgin, and then it's scandal that we find out that she isn't actually a virgin. She's 23. She was supposed to be like 16 or something, and that's not remarked upon anymore later either. But, you know, I want to say this. I want to end it by saying this, because then we can move on. I think it's cool that he made this. It's cool that directors can spend all their money on weird projects that are not an IP, not a comic book movie, and, you know. So good for him. It just didn't work. He needed notes. He needed editing, because there's so much more even that I didn't say that just makes this a terrible movie. And everyone I've talked to, it got a D+ cinema score. It's just bad, man. It's just bad. So, but I would say eventually get to it. Like, anyone listening that's curious, watch it just to see what it is. Like, it's not a The Room, you know, but
Almost.
Yeah, it's just wild. Like, wow, you put all this money and hired all these people, and this is what you made, huh?
I don't think I could ever make a movie and not ask for people's input along the way. I don't have that kind of faith in myself, or
Same.
What's another word for that? Like, I don't have I would be like, what do you think about this? And they'd be like, well, why does Adam Driver say the club that way? It's a little weird. But yeah,
since he's made The Godfather and The Conversation and Apocalypse Now, you know, people think he's the genius, and those movies are genius. He's still a master for making those movies, but damn, this sucks.
Just one, he is not. He's 85, and I think when people get to a certain age, you know, it's hard to keep up, especially with things change.
Yes.
So we've got people like him and Clint Eastwood who are making movies still that aren't necessarily that great, or, you know, sometimes you get a George Miller who's making fucking bomb ass shit.
That's the thing, you just never know.
You never know. It's like, some people you're like, please just stop working, and other people you're like, please work until the day you die, till you're 90.
Yeah.
But anyways,
so that's Megalopolis. It's bad. Don't see it.
What'd you give it?
I think I gave it 1.5. I gave it 2. I'm gonna lower it to 1.5.
Okay. So
some of the costumes are cool, and some of the performances are fun, but not in service of the movie. It's just funny to see Shia LaBeouf acting that way. He's wearing drag in the movie. It's bizarre.
I got vibes of like the Wachowskis who did The Matrix.
Yep.
Like them, just from the trailer, and Inception. Like, that's the vibes I got. Or
Definitely.
like even like Synecdoche, New York, which you sent me today. I got vibes of that just from what I've seen. But yeah.
Yeah, it's
Doctor
real
Strange.
Bizarre. It's definitely Doctor Strange. But Doctor Strange pulled it from Inception, I think.
Yes, for sure. For sure.
So definitely Inception.
Yeah.
So yeah,
do
man.
we want to talk about The Substance or Wild Robot first?
I think let's do the Wild Robot first, because I don't have too much to say about it. So yeah, do you want me to describe it? Do you want to?
I got it right here. So the Wild Robot, which I didn't realize, a friend told me that it is based on a book, which I didn't realize. Like, I think
learned
a younger
at the movie, talking to other patrons as well. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So this is a animated movie that I originally thought was coming straight to Netflix, but it is a Universal movie. So the same people who brought you, right? DreamWorks.
Yeah, DreamWorks.
Sorry. So
yeah, I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah, and it is directed by Chris Sanders, and it is about a robot who crash lands on a planet and breaks out of its case, and it is a robot that it has needs to serve. Like, it needs to find, the person that it is there to help and assist that person.
Almost like the Minions, right? Aren't the Minions trying to find a master?
I guess you're right. Yeah, exactly. That's what the whole
that's where the comparisons end, by the way.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Definitely.
Okay, keep going. I'm going to shut this door. Keep going.
Okay. I should have said that Chris Sanders also directed The Croods, Lilo and Stitch, and How to Train Your Dragon. So he's got a pretty good pedigree. And anyway, so this robot is voiced by Lupita Nyong'o, and she tries to make her way out into this wilderness to find someone to help. And eventually she does find someone to help, and it is this little duck. And I don't want to give too much away about how that happens, because it is a little while into the movie before that happens. But so this is her goal now, is to help this duck become a duck, essentially a fully grown duck. And she also bonds with a fox played by Pedro Pascal. And then, there's tons of voice actors in this. Bill Nighy, Stephanie Sue, Mark Hamill, Catherine O'Hara, Ving Rhames, and Matt Berry and Kit Connor. So it was great to hear all that. And I
think they did good with the voices, because I couldn't recognize a lot of them.
Even Lupita, I was like, am I sure this is Lupita
Me
Nyong'o?
Too. I'm like, that doesn't sound like her at all.
No, it doesn't. And I didn't know it was Pedro. I had no idea until the credits when I watched.
Same.
So that was, as soon as I heard Catherine O'Hara, I'm like, okay, definitely. And Ving Rhames, I got right away. I didn't know it was Mark Hamill.
Me neither.
But he's a great voice actor.
Yeah, he has a history.
So what do you think about The Wild Robot?
I thought it was very, very good and sweet and charming. It reminds me, you can easily see parallels between Baymax from Big Hero 6 and... Did you ever see Big Hero 6?
Yep.
Baymax and Wally. It's kind of like a mixture of Baymax and Wally, because Baymax is like, I'm here to solve your medical problems, And instead of that, the robot is like, I'm here to serve you, what do you need help with? So I thought it was great, very charming and sweet. And I really like the animation style. It looks cool and kind of creative compared to other kids' animated movies. So this is one of those animated movies that I feel safe recommending, or not safe, but happy to recommend to adults, my friends that have kids, and say, oh, watch it with them. This one is actually good, instead of something like the Minions where, I just roll my eyes at those.
Mm-hmm.
And did you mention that Chris Sanders is the guy?
Yes.
Okay. He did the last
Lilo
one he did.
Stitch.
Yeah. How to Train Your Dragon, one of those. The Croods. The last one he did, though, was The Call of the Wild with Harrison Ford. Yeah, and that one wasn't that great, I don't think. But yeah, so he definitely has like a knack and a niche.
Mm-hmm.
And the story is, this is like, I think, really a beautiful story. And it's like, if you're a mom and you go with your daughter or something, that would be like really, really sweet. I don't think I cried, but I did poll this movie for CinemaScore, and lots of people were coming out where I could tell they had been crying. Like, it's very, very sweet and sad about mom learning to let go and let their young children go make themselves in the world, right? That's kind of the theme of this. So that's kind of all I have to say. I really liked it. It's very sweet, and it's not long. It's like an hour and 40 minutes. I would say it's not as deep as something like Inside Out 2. It is deep in a way, but that movie kind of takes it to another level. But yeah, man, this is good. It's really good, and I liked it quite a bit. What about you? Did you take the kids?
I did. I took the kids, which I wish I hadn't, because they didn't need to see their dad cry that hard. This movie had me bawling like a little baby from about the halfway point until about the end.
Man.
Yeah, it's I definitely what you said. it's about a lot of things about like, moving on and your kids moving on, and it's a little bit about unrequited love, and when you should tell someone, like, just say I love you, or and yeah, it's also very clearly about what you give up as a parent.
Mm.
I found that to be very strong about what you will sacrifice to give your child a better future
Yeah.
and life,
Good
which
point.
really hit me. And because I'm not trying to give anything away, but there's points where, like, she's getting hurt like a little bit
Damaged.
and
Yep.
a damage, and I felt like that's like pieces of you
Yeah.
that you are taking away to give to your, like, you're working 40 hours a week or more to make sure your child is happy, right?
Yep. Yep.
So
Yeah, that's
it
good.
really,
That's right. That's
yeah,
a very strong parallel there, and that's why
yeah,
I saw it and thought, man, this, like, I could see this being like it just. And I say mother and daughter just because the voice is a woman's voice of the robot, and I think they call
yeah,
her she in the movie, even though
they
it's a
do,
robot.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I heard some people. There's one podcast I listen to is called Slash Filmcast or the Filmcast, and one of the hosts there is like really, really, really progressive and liberal. His wife didn't like that they gendered the robot, and okay, that's fine that she has that opinion, but I that didn't bother me at all.
yeah. I
Her
mean,
voice is feminine sounding, so it's.
yeah,
But yeah,
I
that's just that's out there, just so you guys know.
but I think also having the fox there as a male component, and I know he wasn't the, like, being called dad, but I loved
Yeah,
his
yeah.
storyline too, where that goes. This
Yeah,
is,
yeah. It's a really good
yeah,
dynamic between them because he's more reluctant. He's more like the
he wants
dad
to eat the
figure.
duck.
Yeah, he wants to eat the duck. He's like, do we really have to do all this? Like
Yeah,
that. If you want to draw a parallel to like the North American lifestyle, that's the dad that's sitting on the couch watching football, and
yeah,
right, like I just want to watch the game and have a beer, and the mom's like, no, we have to take them to karate practice. You know what I mean? Like,
and he does it.
and he
And
does
he's
it
like, and he's
begrudgingly.
reluctant, but he does it.
Yep, yep.
I'm probably gonna oversell this movie, but this is by far my favorite DreamWorks movie,
It's the
and
best they put out in a long time.
and for me, it's probably in the top 10 to 20 animated movies I've ever seen. I
Good, good. I
This
love that.
really, really affected me, and I can't wait to watch it again. Like, as soon as it's out, I'm gonna watch it again, and I'm even gonna tell my parents to watch it. I think it's lovely. So the kids, like, they didn't cry, but this thing moves along at such a great pace,
It's paced
and
so good.
then all of a sudden, like halfway through the movie, it takes a switch that I wasn't expecting.
Yeah,
Not
I
like
didn't see it coming
a
either.
crazy switch, but like there's a time jump. That's all I'll say. And I'm like, holy shit, this movie is just does everything so well.
It's real
And
smooth.
the other thing is they really don't shy away from death. In the first 20 minutes, a
Yeah.
lot of animals die, are killed by other animals. You don't see it necessarily, but man, oh man, it was. I was laughing. We had a good laugh. Like, and Atticus, he's just like, what is that? Is that? And then because one of the possum kids, something happens, but then it didn't. It didn't. It didn't. Yeah. Anyway, so
Yeah, the possum family was very funny.
very funny. Catherine O'Hara is a possum mom, and she's kind of like the opposite of Roz. She's like,
Mm-hmm.
don't worry, they'll be fine. One of her
Yeah.
kids almost gets eaten, and she's like,
I
oh
usually lose a
well.
kid. Oh well.
I usually lose one out of the litter.
And then
So
it comes
it's
back. It's like I'm still alive. Yeah, really, really funny. And but just so let's put this in perspective regarding DreamWorks. They've done the Kung Fu Panda stuff, Trolls Band Together,
Mhm.
Rudy Gilman. Remember that Teenage Kraken?
I don't know.
It bombed hard. It came
Oh,
out in
okay.
23. It came out last year.
Yes.
Yeah, Puss in Boots: Last Wish, which was good. The Bad Guys, The Boss Baby, Spirit Untamed, The Crude. So like some of these are fine, but like this is a large step ahead of the other ones, wouldn't you say? Of all those that I listed.
Yeah, I think the only thing, like, some people are really in love with How to Train Your Dragon, and I know that's DreamWorks, so I think they would put that up there. But other than that, there's nothing I would really, except for Puss in Boots: Last Wish. I forgot about
Yeah,
that.
that
And I
one's
really
great. Yep.
loved that movie. Has he seen it, or is he just
No,
making
no,
fun of
no,
us?
no, no,
Because I
no.
was gonna say he's going along with me, so I want to think he's seen it. So, anyways, why don't we jump into the substance? So why don't you talk about the substance?
Oh, I can't wait to talk about this. So,
Yeah.
all right. So, yeah, let's talk about the substance.
Oh,
So, this, if you're a movie fan, you should have heard of this I would think you would have heard of this by now, just because it's been, or a movie fan that's online. It's been making the rounds. It's well. Let me just set it up first. So, it's directed by Coralie Farge. Do you know how to say her name?
nope. But
Coralie
I'll
Farge.
pretend I do.
She's French, so help see if you can help with your French Canadian reality. She is mostly known for that awesome rape revenge movie she made a couple years ago called Revenge,
Yes.
2017. Cool movie.
Not enough people saw that.
No, not enough people did, and it was awesome, bloody
'Cause
and,
it was
and brutal.
sorry, it was a Shudder original, I think, back when Shudder was like first starting.
Yeah, 'cause that was
And I don't think enough
2017.
people have seen it. It's really good.
So that's her. So that's the director's pedigree, and then the substance is like this. All right. Demi Moore plays a fading celebrity that uses a black market drug that is like a cell replicating substance that temporarily creates a younger, better version of yourself. So you take this drug, actually Get Thin MD on here in our chat. He sells a drug that is like peptides and Ozempic that, helps you lose weight. So I thought of him a lot watching this movie. And I went and saw it a second time with our mutual friend, Anna, and she really enjoyed it. So yeah, you take this drug and you get a clone of yourself that's younger, hotter, better, stronger, all that stuff, right? But the catch is you each get 7 days. So you take the drug, you pass out. This new person is birthed out of your back, and that version of you gets 7 days on the planet to do whatever they want, go and have fun and party like you're young again, and then in 7 days you switch. And you have to do it that way, or there's consequences, obviously. And so Margaret Qualley's in it. Dennis Quaid plays a movie producer, TV producer named Harvey. Figure that out, what that means. And there's a couple other characters here whose names I don't know. It's really Demi Moore and Margaret Qualley's show here.
Yeah,
there are some 2001: A Space Odyssey references in this that floored me. There is Shining references in this that I
definitely
loved.
Shining.
Well, and the space one is just the song. They just use the dun, dun.
Oh, really?
Yeah, when she's coming down on
I
stage
remember
at
that.
the
Yes.
end. Yeah.
Yes.
And so this is a horror thriller, I would say. But I want to go out and say Demi Moore should be nominated for Best Actress for this movie if we lived in a just world. This is like, what's her name from Hereditary type performance.
Yeah.
Help me out with it.
Especially, Toni Collette. Like
Toni Collette.
This is like, especially with Demi Moore, we haven't really seen anything of substance, no pun intended. Like for like 15 years,
yeah, the
10
last
years.
thing she was a lead in, I think, was Charlie's Angels or something. Charlie's Angels Reloaded or whatever. And there's a meta quality to it because Demi Moore is and was, she posed nude pregnant on Time Magazine or Playboy or something.
Yeah.
She's a beauty icon. She's been, and she looks amazing in this movie. She has to be naked for a lot of it. Shot at a lot of unflattering angles, shot wearing no makeup. And she is so freaking good here. And, it's just a cool meta quality that she would take a role like this. So I have now seen it twice. And the only complaint or criticism I have, because this thing is edited well, the music in it's awesome. When the younger version's on screen, it's this like pumping techno shit that you'd hear in LA and in Miami.
Good. Yeah.
At like a Miami club and stuff. And the struggle this main character is going through is so, first of all, well realized, but so realistic and real feeling. We've all walked through our house, looked in the mirror, and maybe we haven't like changed outfits. Like, as a guy, appearances are done a little differently in society. But I know for sure I've caught a reflection of myself on my doorknob or, in the car and thought, God, I look so fat. I look like shit. And then I feel bad going out.
I'm always doing this.
Yeah. Or like right now, or earlier today, I was looking, I'm like, oh man, I see some lines around my eyes. Like, so it's so relatable that, we feel this way. And then for her, Demi Moore, as an actress and as the character in this, since her job is looking good, it's, just devastating to her when she hits an age where she needs to gracefully step aside. And what I like about this is directed and written by a woman here. If this was directed and written by a man, it would be really awkward because there's tons of women nudity in this. There's focus shots on girls' asses and boobs, and it's a very sexy movie. And there's lots of nudity, a little bit of sex in the movie, but it's all done so well. It's done so well. It's a little long, and the only criticism I have, Mitch, I'd like to hear if you have any, and then I'll let you speak and tell me what you thought. Is the ending scene is a whole debacle, and I think it goes on a little too long. After about 3 minutes or so, I'm like, okay, I get it. And it's just like gore, blood for quite a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, what'd you think? How did you receive this movie? Was it gross to you in any way?
Yeah, that's literally actually my only complaint as well. Is I couldn't fully jump in with the ending, and I could see people having the same complaints with this ending as they did with Alien Romulus. I'm not quite there. I mean, I didn't hate the ending. It definitely is what I love, and we're not going to give that away here. And the whole time I'm just smiling and laughing, right? But because this is a dark comedy.
Very dark.
Yeah. And I'm not usually the kind of person to like sit there and like come up with themes or say like this movie has this theme, but I've done it already with The Wild Robot, and I'm going to do it again because, like you said, it's about trying to come to terms with, your aging and, and how. And I ultimately think near the end, it's like how obsessing with your looks can ruin your life.
Yep.
And it's also like an allegory maybe about people who have gotten work done or messed with their stuff so
Botox,
much that they don't look.
All that stuff.
Yeah. Doing everything, and it just kind of fucks them up, or people don't recognize them, or they're they have regrets and stuff about what they did.
Yep.
And like you said, Demi Moore is incredible.
She's brave for taking this role. We say, that actress is so brave, but she really is. She's got to cry in this and be naked and bang her head on the wall. And, it's just like, imagine if I came to your house with a camera and was like, hey, Mitch, take your clothes off and now put makeup on, take it off. Like, and there's 10 people in the room.
Saturday night for me.
And there's people in the room and you have lights on, and like, it's just, and that's why I admire actors a lot, because it looks easy. They make it look easy, but it would be hard. It would be very difficult.
Like, they literally put the one shot, and it's so awkward because this movie does have a sexy side, especially with Margaret Qualley, and Demi Moore is still beautiful as hell.
She's insanely hot.
She has not aged very much, and her body looks great.
She looks great.
I was surprised.
She plays 50. She plays 50 and she's 61. But go ahead. She takes her whole what?
Like, I was so shocked. She stands in front of the mirror and she just takes her clothes off, and I'm like, oh, I did not expect her to get naked. And then there's like a scene I'll never forget of like above her in the shower, which is not a flattering shot.
Right.
Like, you can see her boobs, and like it's just like, and there's just so many unflattering shots.
Yes.
And then Margaret Qualley doesn't kind of get the same shot. She gets like the sexy and the and she was really good
up to her butt shot, and like
exactly,
and again, if this was a male director, people would say, oh, the camera lingers too much on her ass and all this. But I think the director here is making a point. But I do want to say one other thing, that in the conversation around this movie, it's talked about, oh, women, beauty standard, blah, blah, blah. But this is the same for men in some ways. Football players, sports players, even male models. And so my kind of thing is, like, my friend who is in the chat, he loves going to, how do I say this nicely without offending him? Gentlemen's clubs. That's a hobby of his that I've done with him plenty of times. And he's done way more than I have. And I don't know where I heard this once in a movie. Maybe it was even Showgirls, but no, it was not a podcast. Anyway, when your job is based on either your body's ability or your beauty, you have this many years to do it. And so you got to maximize your time. So I would say, like, if you're a stripper, let's say, or a sex worker or a football player, just know you have these 15, 20 years, whatever it might be, and then figure out something else, or save, work to save for retirement, because it will fade, it will grow away. Your body, you'll get an injury in football, let's say, or baseball, you'll tear a rotator cuff. So it's a tragedy in this movie for Demi Moore, because I would hope she would have known that and been ready to say, okay, on my 50th birthday, and maybe it'll come too soon, because we see she still looks good. So maybe she was expecting on her 55th birthday, but she had to have known eventually that this day will come. It comes for us all. So yeah, it's an awesome movie. It's crazy. Again, the ending's a little too long, but other than that, it's fantastic. The opening scene and the end scene, beautiful, beautiful symmetry. Remember the Hollywood Star thing?
Yeah.
It opens on the Hollywood Star. It ends on the Hollywood Star in a way. At the end, I want to tell you this, Mitch, because I just noticed it my second time. At the end on the Hollywood Star, someone is looking up at the sky. Do you remember this? And there's 3 palm trees and then the stars.
Yeah.
I think the 3 palm trees are Sue, Elizabeth, and the combination of the 2. I think that's why there's 3 palm trees there.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. And then Dennis Quaid is really funny in this. He's gross. They film him like up close with shrimp with the eyes in it still, and he's like being nasty. It's just vile. So
that's what I will say. If anybody has misophonia, if you know what that is, it's where you can't handle like the noises of the mouth or chewing or talking.
Oh God.
And it's like, or ASMR kind of stuff. If you can't handle that, I would probably wait to watch this at home where you can mute it or turn it down, because Dennis Quaid is chewing shrimp right into the mic.
That's nasty.
Even at time, like, okay, I get it. And
it's the shrimp with the eyes still on it. Like
I don't eat shrimp. They're shrimps as bugs. But yeah, so I 100% agree with you. I got the vibes of The Fly and Suspiria and even Neon Demon a bit, which I like and you like.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, very good. Yeah. Barbarian. There's a kind of similar to Barbarian.
For sure.
Definitely The Fly. Definitely Cronenberg stuff. Yeah.
For sure. So
we have to mention one thing. The makeup and hairstyling work is fantastic. The special effects are a lot practical, and bodysuits and stuff, and it's awesome.
We could see this at the Oscars, and
I hope so.
It seems a little too rated R for body horror for the Oscars, but it'd be great because I think Folie and more could get nominated. Costume design or makeup and hairstyling. Like I think it
definitely
does a really good job.
Deserves it. And even the production design, the apartment she lives in is this nice flat penthouse type building in LA looking across
and they do so much with that space.
Yes.
Like that what you're saying, like it's not a huge apartment, but the way they utilize that space is awesome.
It informs the character. When Demi Moore is on screen, she has it all messy because her mental state is crazy. When Folie's on screen, it's nice and girly and clean. It's just fantastic. And the way they realize the drugs, the taking of the drugs, all that stuff, it looks good and believable. And it's freaking awesome. I loved it. I give this 4.5 star. It might even be 5.
Yeah, I think I gave it 4.5 because like I left it feeling kind of like dirty. I felt kind of like a little like, I don't know. I didn't love it completely, but it's definitely one that I will watch next year or something, like within a year, because it is. And there are people like my parents I will not recommend this to. Like it's would your mom like this? No.
So I told her about it, and she said that she's interested in it. She said, well, all that sounds pretty fascinating to me, because she loves thrillers, she loves psychological thrillers. But I was like, I said, I'm like, this has some pretty nasty gore and blood and stuff. And she's like, she's like, I might just close my eyes. But no, I did poll this for Cinema Score, and it was interesting. All of the boomers that came out did not like it. Were saying, was this supposed to be a black comedy? A couple people didn't even turn in their ballots because sometimes they think I work for the movie somehow, not that I'm a third party. And they're like, I want nothing to do with this, And I'm like, no, I don't care what your opinion is. So I think to answer your question, no, I don't think she would like it, and I wouldn't recommend it to anyone older. Really, like this is young. Yeah.
that's actually one little story that's very funny I wanted to tell you before we move on to something else. So I was sitting in the theater, and this was, almost a week after it came out. My small theater in town, and there was about 15 of us in this small theater, and there was this older couple here, and then there was an older guy like down a few, and we're watching this movie, and it ends on that ending, which is pretty crazy. And there's this So this guy gets up once the credits are rolling, and he turns to like this couple that's sitting in front of me, and he goes, "Wow, well that's filmmaking at its finest, eh? Like Jesus!" And he walks out like all grumpy. And then
Man,
so I'm leaving, and then I am leaving with these two girls who work at the theater, and I didn't really realize that. I'm like, "Oh, did you guys like that?" And they're like, "Yeah, we loved it. Like, I've seen bits of it because I work here." And so we're leaving, talking about how much we love it, and this guy's waiting at the exit because he wants to talk about how much he hated it. And so us three walk out talking about how much we love it, and he's like, "How in the world could you guys love something like that?" And I'm like, "You sat through the whole thing. Why wouldn't you have just left?" I
yeah,
don't.
yeah.
Anyways,
That's funny. That's funny. And that's funny that both our experiences have that in common, that the
exactly.
older generation doesn't get it, doesn't like it.
Yeah. So, did you want to just briefly talk about Joker 2?
Yeah, let me just touch
Okay.
on it. We'll review this because you're gonna see it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right,
I'd
so
really. Yeah.
yeah, so I saw Joker 2 on Monday. There was an early screening. I worked it for Cinema Score. And I can say, because so technically I'm not allowed to say what it got because we were privately hired by Warner Brothers to poll this movie because I think they wanted to get an idea of what people thought.
Great.
But by the time the episode goes up, which will be tomorrow, the score will be known. But for this last week, I haven't been able to say anything. So anyway, I got a C from my audience, which isn't good for a movie. Usually, most movies get B and A's for the most part. So, and then the Rotten Tomatoes scores have been just falling. I think it's in the 30, 38 for critics, 38 for audience. And my opinion is also, I did not like it. It goes a whole new direction. This shouldn't have been a musical. Lady Gaga isn't in it all that much. The songs, none of the songs are written for the movie. They're just songs we all already know. So this is just like karaoke. And 85% of the movie takes place within the jail and the courtroom. And it's litigating what we all already saw from the first movie. So like, come
Right.
on, let's go. We know what he did in the first movie. Catherine Keener, right?
Yeah, I love her.
Yeah, so it's funny with her being in the last movie we were talking about. She plays his lawyer. She's okay. Brendan Gleeson is cool, but yeah, man, it's just disappointing, and my crowd was not happy about it, and it's a bummer. It's a real bummer because it does have a impactful ending, I will say, but yeah, it's not great. I wouldn't recommend it. I wouldn't recommend people go see it. So.
Yeah.
I'll be very. Hopefully, I would love to hear that you got something out of it, and I'm missing. But no, it's just I just didn't like it, man. It sucks.
I haven't really seen anyone who has outwardly really liked it or
Right.
even loved it. I haven't seen that. And I just watched a critic say, I have to give the director Todd Haynes, right? Todd
No, Todd Phillips. Sorry.
Phillips. I have to give him credit for messing this up so badly when you had something so great.
Yeah.
It seemed like it was so hard to fumble. Wait, you know what I mean? He had the tone in that first one. He had what he wanted. He had a good Joker. Adding Lady Gaga was a good idea, I think.
Yeah. Doing a musical is a swing.
Yeah, maybe one or two. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay, I thought you were going to say it was good.
No, it's a swing. It's a trying something. Kind of like Megalopolis. I'm glad he tried it, but to in the same vein of what you just said, what's the most recent Matrix movie? Resurrection?
Resurrection. Yeah.
So I feel like Todd Phillips is saying, okay, you want a Joker sequel? I'll give you one. Just like the Wachowski saying, oh, you want another Matrix movie? All right, I'll give you one.
Right.
Because this really feels kind of like a fuck you. This is like the movie's like you want to idolize the Joker? Well, let's see. And that's what we got. So yeah, it's too long. It's paced very poorly. Oh, it's so slow. It just drags along. And yeah, so it's a bummer, man. It really sucks that this sucked, but it's really not good. I think I gave it 1.5 stars or so.
And I think we got to remember that Todd Phillips has made some bad movies in his life. He
Yeah.
was known as a comedy director, like, and then the Hangover sequels,
Yeah, bad.
and then he did something really great with Joker. And God, I haven't seen it, so obviously, but I'm just going by what pretty much everyone else is saying, and he really fumbled. So
Yeah, yep.
that's
So
too
yeah,
bad.
we'll give it a full. Let's both. Maybe we can do like we'll do a spoiler talk on it.
Yeah, for sure.
Since we talked a little bit about it now, to at least give some more value to the listener, so they don't
For
get
sure.
the same thing. But yeah, we'll talk about it next week. And yeah, that'll give some time for the rest of the listening audience to have seen it and maybe have
Exactly.
their opinions too. But
For
yeah,
sure.
the critics I watch aren't liking it. I haven't heard, because see, I have heard a critic or two that does like Megalopolis, but I have not yet heard a critic that likes this one.
I posted in my group of friends and I just said, like, how many people say they like Megalopolis just because it's Coppola?
Yeah, yeah.
And it seems like the movie's hanging around 50%. So I'm wondering if some people are giving it more, love just because it is Coppola. Like, if this came out by a nobody, would it get the same score?
I've been wondering that.
Yeah, so I always think about that when it's like a big,
Definitely.
even like with like some of the later Clint Eastwood stuff who I brought up earlier, it's like people are kind of like, well, he's 90, we love him. So
yeah,
I just want to quickly talk about Will and Harper.
Yeah, tell me about this. I've been scrolling by it in my list of movies to go see. It's at a theater that's pretty far away, so I haven't yet. But yeah, and now that you're talking about it, I wish I had seen it.
Well, it's it's what you would expect if you've seen the trailer.
Yeah,
it's Will Ferrell and his friend Harper Steele, who used to be a man and he used to write for Saturday Night Live. Him and Will were best friends on SNL. So Harper has transitioned to be a female and is, they used to travel America, and Harper used to travel America when he was a man, and now he's like a little more skeptical about doing that. He's a little more nervous because of the hate towards trans people and, the difference and stuff. And the
movie is them taking a road trip, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So they take a road trip from New York all the way to Texas or somewhere. They end somewhere else, but they, and then there's a lot of Saturday Night Live cast in this. It starts, pretty early. We get to see like Tina Fey, Tim Meadows, and yeah, and then later Will Forte's
Seth Meyers,
in there.
Kristen Wiig, Colin Jost.
Yes, yeah, they have like
Will Forte, Tina Fey, holy crap, Molly Shannon.
Yeah. Forte shows up at a point where like I was like, oh, that's Forte, and then his part like is really emotional, and of course, like you can expect, like if you have, if this is really emotional. There's one part that really sticks out where Will and Harper have been going to like different places, and then every city they're in, and obviously some people are really accepting. Thank you. They end up on the West Coast, yes, and they take a hot air balloon ride with Will Forte. It's really beautiful. And so they, obviously, once they get to Texas, things don't go as well. And once they're around that area,
right.
And Harper says to Will at one point, "I want to go into this bar, and I don't want you to come in until I text you and say, like, I need you, or I want you to come in now, or whatever," right? And so you see kind of Will pacing outside. He's a little upset. You never know how much of this is set up for the camera.
Yeah,
but he is a little, you can tell he doesn't like this. And obviously the camera's in there, so they're wondering something. But like the looks Harper is getting, there's only one person that ends up talking to him, and they kind of start talking and then become friends. So then Harper says to Will, "Hey, I kind of feel safe now. Why don't you come in?" So Will comes in, and then of course, everybody's like, "You're transitioning. That's great. Oh, Harper,"
because Will Ferrell's around.
It's fucking Will Ferrell, right? And you really see that in the documentary, that it's
interesting.
Like Harper is getting accepted in a lot of places because Will Ferrell is there. But we also get to hear from, like people like Will Forte and Harper's sister who were there and where they grew up and stuff like that, and what they felt when Harper did this and said this and stuff, right? And it's really quite lovely. I gave it 5 stars. It's hard for me not to, you know what I mean? I don't know how I could give this like a bad rating because it's just, it made me cry. I watched it with my friend who is
It's trans, yeah.
trans,
Yep.
and he had a very emotional reaction at some parts, and I had a very emotional reaction at one part, and he said, like, why are you crying? And I said, because I have felt this for you.
Sure.
Or I have like, there's a part, and I'm not trying to give anything away, but it's a documentary.
Yeah.
There's a part where they see this road sign, and it's like, if you eat this 72-ounce steak in an hour, you win. And it's in Texas, right? And they go, and it's a very public thing, and it's him and Harper, and they're up on this stage, and they're kind of getting like almost booed, and lots of stares, and like Will is like even feeling really awkward, and he's like, I'm so sorry I put you through this, and then all these, like, they look on Twitter after, and it's all like really hateful tweets against both of them and stuff. So it's just a really interesting documentary, I think. If you don't know a lot about trans, I think it's you're the kind of people that really should watch it.
Yeah,
and
it's a good entry point.
Exactly. And if you don't know a lot about the trans, or I mean, if you do, it's still very funny and a lot of fun. So, yeah, definitely a good watch. It's on Netflix. I almost felt like it went on a little long, but I got a lot out of it.
How long was it? Was it 2 hours?
That's a really good question, Ant. It was 114 minutes.
Okay. So a little under.
A little, yeah, it was like an hour and 44 or something. I like.
I do want to see this. I should see it. It's still in a theater near me. I should just go and check it out.
Yeah.
It's cool that Will Ferrell would make this. A lot of actors would be worried about their career, and it's not a malice thing where they would say, "Oh, I just wouldn't make something like this." Like it's. But so it's cool that Will Ferrell is I guess he's reached a point. It'd be interesting if he had made this when he was like on his way up between old school and the other guys. But no, it's cool that he did this. And the final thing I'll say is just let people be what they want to be and be happy. Yeah, do I have to do anything? Does it affect me? Okay, then do whatever you want.
And I will say this is from the director of the guy who this is from the director of Barb and Star Go to Vista Del Mar, which I liked. But
there's some diehard fans for that movie.
It's really funny. And he also did Strays and the documentary Too Funny to Fail.
I liked Strays, man.
Yeah.
The dog movie where they're cussing. A lot of people hate it, but man, it made me crack up.
Yeah. So I think this is probably one of their friends. So
okay, cool. Well, I'm glad you brought this to the show.
Yeah, it's definitely something I had to. We are going to talk about his 3 daughters and Rebel Ridge, which we both saw.
Yeah, we'll talk about that next week just because we're low on time.
For sure. I mean, I meant next week, yeah.
yeah. Which are both on Netflix. You can watch them both. They're both good.
I'm thumbs up on his 3 daughters, so I'm going to go watch Rebel Ridge, and then we'll talk about that next time.
Rebel Ridge, because Rebel Ridge is making Blair, I think.
Yeah.
He's the guy that did Green Room and Blue Ruin, so really, really cool and interesting direction.
Jeremy Saulnier, but making Blair the actor?
Yes, yep, yeah, okay. I messed it up. I think it's Jeremy Saulnier. But all right, so then I want to mention We Live in Time. This is the new A24 movie. It actually doesn't come out for a couple more weeks, or maybe, I think it might be next weekend, so not this weekend, but the next.
Okay.
This is Andrew Garfield and Florence Pugh, both using their British accents, which just threw me for a loop. I was texting Mitch during this movie, like, wait a minute, is Florence Pugh? They're both British, like, because we've seen them use their American accents so much. But so this is so it's directed by John Crawley, who did Brooklyn, that really beautiful looking movie Brooklyn with Saoirse Ronan. I didn't see it. But I know it won some Oscars or was nominated, wasn't it?
Yep.
So yeah, Brooklyn with Saoirse Ronan. But this is I would call it a pretty straightforward romantic dramedy. But they do, and I want to tell the story of how I got into this movie. I was on my way to go see The Killing of a Sacred Deer, which I have seen but I was pretty inebriated the first time with a friend of mine, and we almost got kicked out because we were laughing at scenes where we shouldn't have been.
I think,
And
yeah.
yeah, this was in Chicago, and I'm like, we went to a comedy show and had quite a few drinks, and I'm like, movie Ant. I'm like, come on, let's go see a movie. Let's go see a movie. And we had no business being there. There's a really serious scene at the end where he's dancing around the room with a shotgun, and we were laughing. We were dying laughing, and the person scolded us and went and like told on us. So I was going back to see it, and as I'm walking in, I see two women at a booth with this poster in front of it. I'm like, oh shit, this must be the critic screening. So I just walked up, talked. I'm like, hey, I work for CinemaScore. Can I see this movie? And they're like, sure, there's still some seats left, and gave me a wristband. And, normally I wouldn't maybe like ditch another movie to go see a romantic comedy, but this was A24 behind this one. So it's about these two people. They're brought together in a surprise encounter, which you've seen in other romantic comedies. They accidentally hit someone with their car, or they bump into each other in the grocery store. There's, an accidental encounter. And they embark on an encounter or embark on a relationship through time. But what makes this movie interesting and a good watch is it's told out of order. It's not linear. So like the first scene we see them married with the daughter, and then the next scene we see her pregnant with that daughter. And then the next scene we see they haven't met yet. So it's told out of order, which makes it engaging to watch. And there is something that limits their time. I'll just say someone has limited time left maybe with us.
Okay.
She is a high-end chef, so her career is pretty cool and fun to watch. She does like chef competitions. She's very competitive. And yeah, overall, it's just a really strong and good romantic comedy. This is the perfect movie to watch with your girlfriend or partner when you both can't decide on something. It's not that's a chick flick, I don't want to watch it, because it's good enough. And these are both compelling actors. They have really nice chemistry. Mitch, I told you this, so I'll tell it on the pod. There's a lot of female nudity in this. Florence Pugh is topless quite a bit here. So if that entices you guys to watch it more, then good. But yeah, they both are. It's very well acted, and the non-linear story makes it engaging to watch. I'm glad I saw it, and it's a 3 to 3.5 star romantic comedy. So I would highly suggest it. It's very cute.
Good.
That is We Live in Time. Yeah, and then I guess I'll just touch on these. So the other movie I saw was Lee with Kate Winslet. It came out in 2023. She'd been working on this for 8 years. She funded a couple weeks of production to get it done, but it's really like another version of the Rosamund Pike movie, A Private War, which was great. It's about a journalist who worked during wartime, World War II. A Private War is more recent, but this is a true story of the person Lee, who was a Vogue model, like for Vogue magazine. She was like a beautiful actress, and she just woke up one day and realized, oh my God, I gotta help. Like she got that bug of like, I've got to do something good for society, not just take my shirt off and take pictures, and that's it. She's unlikable. The problem I have with this movie is her character is unlikable. She's rude and kind of self-important, and thinks just because she's doing this work, which the work she's doing is important, but she just has no joy. And I know it's hard to have joy in dealing with war, but yeah, it's totally fine, but it's not great. So,
is she British or is she German in this? Is she American?
She plays an American that's been living in Europe, basically.
Okay. Because I was just curious, because I know that the Diane Kruger's character from Inglourious Basterds, I know she was based on someone, and that kind of sounds someone real, so that kind of sounded
right.
familiar.
I wonder if it's Oh, good call. This is a nice parallel to Diane Kruger's character.
Yeah,
great point.
She's a actress, and then she wants to help, but she's German, I think. So anyways, continue.
Yes, good, very, very, very good parallel. That's exact. So think of Diane Kruger from Inglourious Basterds, but a full story about her actual life.
Right.
And then the last movie I wanted to mention is Azreal, which I think is a biblical character. And the only reason I went to see it, and I even want to mention it, is because it has Scream Queen Samara Weaving in it. So you guys will remember Samara Weaving from Ready or Not. Then she looks so much like Margot Robbie that she played Margot Robbie's double in Babylon.
Right.
And she was also in 3 Billboards, but then she also was in the opening scene of Scream 6, I think it was.
Yep.
Yeah, Scream 6.
The last Scream that were
Yeah.
in New York.
And she's Hugo Weaving's. Oh, thank you. Who said that?
I did.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for looking that up. So this movie is only an hour and 20 minutes. It's a horror movie set in the woods. We're following Samara Weaving and her boyfriend, but none of them can talk. They have purposely cut their vocal cords out of their neck, so they all have these scars. So there's no voice or dialogue. There's some screaming or yelling or moaning or something, but they're running from a band of this woman gang, this all women like gang that they worship the devil. There's these creatures that come out at night that if you're around and you have blood exposed, they will smell it and come and get you and eat you. So it's okay. It's okay. It's a decent enough horror movie, but a little forgettable. So I could see why they made it, I guess, because it was probably a low budget since it was shot in the woods. And yeah, the tagline is many years after the rapture, among the survivors, some are driven to renounce their sin of speech. Apparently speaking is a sin. So to me, this is 2.5 stars. So that means I could be positive or negative, but with its short runtime, it might be worth it. So yeah, I can imagine, I could see you getting to this eventually, Mitch.
I like monster movies, so I will probably at some point.
Yeah, and the effects, the creatures that are in the woods at night are pretty creepy looking, and the blood and stuff is done well. So that's a positive there. But I should look up and see what drew her to this movie, why she make it, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
it's kind of random because she seems to be on like an ascending. Her career seems to be ascending.
Yeah.
And if she was going the quote normal route, I could see her being in something like a Brooklyn or like trying to do a serious Oscar type drama. Sure. You know what I mean? To make the next step. So that's Azreal, and that's in theaters, but I think it's a Shudder. Wait, it flashed its movie production logo, and it was either Shudder or Mubi or Frubi or Freebie or Tubi.
Why don't you look at that? And I'm just going to quickly say, I know we got to go, but I saw Strange Darling last night.
Yeah, why aren't we talking about that?
Because I feel like I don't have a ton to say about it.
Did you know about it going in?
I knew nothing about it going in.
See,
I just heard about all the hype.
Shudder.
Okay, yeah. So it should be out this month if they're hoping for like a Halloween release. I couldn't get into it the way I think other people did. I kind of wish I saw it on the big screen. I liked her, and I love Kyle Gallner. I didn't. Whereas, like you were saying, you liked how, what was the movie you just watched that was kind of out of order? We Live in Time. Yeah. I didn't love how Strange Darling did that.
Okay, but if it wasn't...
Exactly. Yes. If it wasn't, then we would have known twisty type thing.
Yeah, it wouldn't have had the impact it does because it preys on our assumption.
Yes. I just think like there's one little thing that bothered me that I think, would have made sense. I don't know why, if we find out that, then why is he doing what he's doing instead of doing something else? Okay. If that makes any sense to you.
Like, you mean like calling for backup?
Yeah, calling for help or something, or like
Doesn't he try?
He does, but it's way late. And
yeah. Okay, I guess I kind of disagree. But go ahead, keep going.
I just feel like there could have been more to the story than in the bedroom. I felt like that just kind of all went on too long, and I'm kind of like, okay, I get it. I still gave it 3 stars, like I think like 3.5. Yeah, 3.5. And because I liked her, I was into it, but it just didn't work for me the way it has at other people. And I know you really liked it.
I did, yeah. I was struck by just her performance. She has to fake, like pretend like she's crying. She has to do pretty like degrading, like sexy things.
Yeah.
And she has to, cause physical harm to people. Like she's a real snake here. And I admire that.
I don't think like I feel like we're kind of getting into spoilers a
Yeah,
bit.
I know. I don't want to give any more away,
I
but
know.
she was in The Fall of the House of Usher and Little Women and Wildcat, which is that one I saw recently.
Yeah, I hadn't seen anything she's really been in that I remember her from.
And I think that was a good choice, again, to
Yes.
keep the plot conceit kind of
Yeah,
under
for sure.
wraps.
If you watch the trailer is just basically her running, I think, and
Mm-hmm. And that's the opening scene too.
yeah, and it's
But fair,
it's
that's fine. You don't have to
yeah,
defend
it's
your
well
feeling.
done, but I just couldn't really vibe with the entire script and where it went and stuff like that. So, and
Yeah,
I
I
wish I
guess
could have.
if the conceit or the, quote twist doesn't fully work for you, then I could see
Yeah,
this being a little like, okay.
yeah. So
So, okay,
I
all right,
kind of
but yeah.
that's why I just wanted to bring it up a little bit because I felt like I don't have a ton to say really because
Yeah, no, that's
unfortunately
fine. That's Strange Darling, and that's
yes,
streaming now.
it is streaming. Apparently, we can get it on Hoopla, but it's on VOD for everyone right now.
Okay.
Apparently, in Canada, it says Hoopla, but I don't know.
Okay. And then
Yeah.
I was just gonna say the one like movies that are coming soon that I want to just mention. There's actually a screening of Saturday Night tomorrow for cast and crew only, which I was thinking about sneaking into. It was filmed here in Atlanta, and I work with the guy who worked on it, and he told me about the screening that he's going to, and I was like, "Ooh, do you think I could sneak in?" And he's like, "I don't know, man. They wouldn't even let me bring my spouse." So
Mm,
but that it looks good. Saturday night, it's about the first taping of Saturday Night Live. It's got a huge cast.
mhm.
And then tonight, I'm going to see that movie, A Different Man. Have you seen this?
Yes, with the guy from
Under the
Under the
Skin.
Skin, who I
Yes.
really liked in Under the Skin. He's kind of how do
Yeah,
I
he
say
makes
this?
that. He made like he's memorable from that
He's
scene.
memorable
He
in
has a
that. Yeah.
disfigured face, and the movie is about someone who looks disfigured or whatever, trying to integrate in society. I think. But I'm gonna go
Yeah.
see that tonight, and then White Bird is in theaters right now, and then The Outrun with Saoirse Ronan is in theaters, and then next week is The Apprentice, which something with about Donald Trump's TV show.
Who's Donald Trump?
Isn't
Sorry.
that isn't that what it is?
No, it's about Donald Trump when he's younger,
Oh,
up
okay,
and coming, and I think it might lead, but like I think it's just calling him the Apprentice. I don't think it's about the
okay.
TV show.
And then the Lego Movie Piece by Piece, which is apparently Pharrell Williams's life story. We did a early screening of it on Wednesday for like fans or whatever, and people walked out and said they liked it. But I've kind of had enough Lego content.
And I just don't understand, like, who's dying for Pharrell Williams' story right now? Who's
Exactly.
like, Pharrell, fucking
Yeah.
yeah,
Maybe when that song Happy came out, but nowadays I don't know.
yeah. I don't know. It's a little, I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah.
he's got a good story and we don't know it.
Right. But I wish maybe did they have to do the Lego route? I don't know. Like the Lego movies were great, and the Ninjago and the Batman one. Like
Yeah.
we've had enough. I get it. Lord and Miller are on to better things.
Yes, they are.
But yeah, so that wraps us up, I guess, right, Mitch?
Yeah. I'm gonna see Joker 2 this weekend. I'll watch. Yeah, I've got lots to watch, lots of horror to watch. So
Yeah,
I will be
man. I mean, look,
busy.
if you don't get to Rebel Ridge, fine. But yeah, at least next week we can talk about his three daughters. But I did
Yeah.
like Rebel Ridge and would like to talk about it.
I will definitely get to Rebel Ridge like before the end of the year.
Yeah,
But
you'll like it. I mean,
yeah,
I think you'll because you liked Blue Room and Green Room, right?
yeah, I did.
This
I
is
did.
similar. It deals with kind of corrupt white cops in a small town fucking with a black guy.
Okay, I love
And
corrupt cop movies.
Yeah, that's just the backdrop, and it's a Jeremy Saulnier, so it's
Is
tense.
Megan
It's
Blair
cool.
in it?
No, I don't think he has. Does he have a
Usually,
cameo?
because that's why we always confuse them is because they were friends or something, and then Megan Blair has gone on to direct now, and
he shows up in a lot of movies. Like he was in Oppenheimer, remember?
yes, yeah,
The Florida Project. He was in that movie I Care a Lot with
love that
Rosamund Pike.
movie. Yes.
Yeah, Logan Lucky. He had a cameo, and I don't feel at home in this world anymore. Did you see that?
He wrote that. Yeah, he wrote that movie.
Right.
Yeah.
Hold the Dark.
Hold the Dark. And I think he wrote Hold the. Oh no, that's a Sonya one. I don't know. See, it gets confusing, right? Because I know they kind of started out together. So.
But yeah, either way, he's a cool dude.
So.
All right, cool.
Yeah, anyways, I feel like I had something else to say, but we've said so much, so maybe I'll just remember it for next week. I think we talked about a lot of good movies, maybe some bad ones, but I think the bad ones, I think a lot of movie fans are either going to see Megalopolis or they're not, or people are going to see Joker 2 or they're not.
Yeah.
What do you think the box office on Joker 2 will be, like, worldwide or domestic by the end?
Oh man, I bet it. Ooh, let me think.
I'm going to say
Yeah, what do you think?
300 million.
Worldwide?
350 maybe, yeah.
I bet it won't get to 200 domestic. Like if it opens at 50, like the projections were saying, then next week 25, then next week 15. So like
Right.
I bet it won't reach 150 domestic. And yeah, 350 worldwide is a good guess, which would be probably a disappointment because the first made $1 billion.
Can you get, like, because you can't get comic book fans into a musical. I mean, it just feels like two completely different sets of people. And I'm not trying to stereotype anyone, but I'm just,
No, it's
who falls into that category,
And that's why it's such an interesting choice. And I like, the more I thought about it, I'm like, okay, if you wrote your, because musicals, like good musicals, like the ones we like let's say La La Land, they write music for the movie. But I'm telling you, in Joker 2, it's all songs we already know from the 50s and 60s.
I know. It's like, if the world, what the world needs now is love. Like I've seen the movie, it's a lot of older stuff too. That it's like,
what? And then
it feels
Gaga, yeah, she's good in it, but she doesn't get to like really belt out a song. It's all like whisper singing or like just talking singing.
Anyways.
And man, like when you hear, it's just there's just too many songs. Like I could hear groans and sighs in my audience. Like when the 10th song starts, people are like, "Oh, come on!"
Isn't there 11 songs? I thought I heard.
Is that right? Wow.
That's what and like that's what I mean. If there was like 3 songs, maybe like one near the beginning, maybe a middle or an end, like and they wrote them, or they were songs that had already been written but were for the plot, really moved it along. Maybe, but.
And they don't. That's the thing, that the songs and good musicals actually move the story forward. In this, it's just like a break interlude for songs.
Stop and sing, like Glee,
yeah. And man, it's just a bummer. And the movie opens with a cartoon.
It would almost be better for Todd Phillips to come out now and say what you said earlier, like, well, you guys wanted a sequel, here it is. Like, like he almost like did it just to be funny.
Yeah. Or if they made this Joker 2 movie and didn't call it Joker or anything, and it was just a Todd Phillips musical, But since it was a sequel to an awesome movie, it's just such a weird choice. Like, good job on going for it, but man,
it feels like the creators of Game of Thrones almost, who really fucked up at the end. But thanks everyone for commenting. I see we got Hexam, Seth, we've had Rustemeyer, Get Thin, I think is his name.
Yeah, Get Thin is Cole,
Yeah, John and Mario was in there. So thank you everyone for watching for a bit, commenting.
Yeah, appreciate y'all. Thank you, guys.
We love that. And we'll see you guys next week with some more movies, because we are getting into the good season. I am so excited for Saturday night. Anyways, all right, everyone, have a great one.
You too, man. Later.
Bye.
Peace.